Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer and today we'll be reviewing the 30-minute mission custom scene-based landscape version, which is unit number 4 in this series. Now if you like what you see in this review, you can absolutely find it on our sponsor's website, Canadian Gundam, your one-stop shop for all of your Gunpla and Plamo needs in North America. This is actually where I got mine, so definitely they have them over there. Go check them out. Wonderful place. And when you're placing your order, don't forget to use the promo code Gunpla Network for 10% off. Now, the packaging is pretty standard. There's nothing crazy going on there. Not a lot to talk about. But when we pop the plastic out of the bag, a little bit more. It is still pretty simple. It's only one plate. You're not going to get a lot to build. But this really isn't about the build. It's about what you do afterwards. It's not intricate, but it looks good. And just generally, I mean, you don't even really need the instructions. You do get them. They're on the insert in the bag, but it's really straightforward, nothing crazy. All the pieces match up and are segmented really well, which is kind of nice to see. There's some forethought put into how this is on the runner itself. All the parts that are for each part are in that section. So if you kind of cut it up into fourths, the top left is going to be kind of the more historic looking downtown area. The right is going to be the more modernized looking downtown area. The bottom left is going to be like a park or just kind of a flat area generally speaking. And then the bottom right is going to be the actual stand piece. Really nice that it's all segmented like that. They have the connectors, which is cool. But one thing I really need to point out, like I cannot stress this enough, the detailing on this is phenomenal. I mean, the downtown, the building parts really just knock it out of the park. The park, on the other hand, not so much, but that's kind of by design. So the cities, even if you don't paint them, and I honestly don't know that I will, like I'm not a great miniature painter, so I don't know that I'll touch them up, but just without it, it looks so good already. It just like shadows and everything will do a pretty good job. Throw a little panel lining in there, just like different shades of gray or black or brown or like blue, I guess, if you want to do like a really standout building. But generally speaking, it looks good. The detail really is enough to draw your eye in and make it just less boring looking. Other stands, they're not bad, but I'm really glad Bandai's doing something like this. The old action bases and stuff, sure, you'd occasionally get a different colored one or you'd have custom ones for certain kits, but you didn't have anything general like this, and I think this is a huge step forward in terms of actually providing bases that look good. This, detail-wise, is fun. There are a couple of issues I'll talk about once we get things up on the actual display itself, but overall, I really do like what they've done with it. Just not even the detail on like the buildings and stuff. You do get to see more of this with the park, but the blank spot where the stand would go when you've removed the center part section actually has like some detailing under it. So you have really a lot of detail everywhere, and that would be pretty easy to panel line. So if you decide to, you can, but this is so amazing. I just really cannot get over how cool this is. And this was something that drew me in, honestly, that, you know, I didn't really know what it was going to be like. I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to paint this or make it look good. But I really don't feel the need to. It looks good enough as it is, right? Now, in terms of what you're actually going to get, of course, you're going to have the 3 main sections with their centerpiece and then the stand, but you'll also have 3 connector joints, which means if you have more than one of these, you can connect them together to make like a big display base. And the whole section, or the bottom of the stand, the base itself, is pretty standard for most other Bandai display base adapter thingies. So if you have anything that came with a kit, like the age kits that had come with display bases, those will fit. I did try that. We'll look at that later. I think some of the old action-based stuff might fit. It's just trying to get it in because like they're not big enough, so you may have to mess with that. But it is cool to be able to put multiple things in there. So I do have to really give to 30 Minute Mission on this. This is very well executed. Bandai's doing a pretty good job with these. And detail-wise, once it's put together, it looks really nice. Like, just generally speaking, as a unit itself, it would be cool just to get a bunch of these and put them all together to like make a fake city. And I mean, if you displayed stuff over the top of it, cool, but it just looks cool as is. Like, as a display base, it's really impressive looking visually speaking. So I honestly, I don't have any more to say on how cool it looks. That I'm out of words. It just, see for yourself, the detail is cool, and it's phenomenal. I really cannot lie about how much I really just enjoyed looking at this thing. It's just so cool looking. But it's about time we put something up on it. And only fitting to start with a 30-minute mission kit itself. So here is my Alto with the commander attachment thingies on it, with the real grade Destiny's beam rifle, because I went with a strike pose and I didn't have a strike beam rifle. And generally speaking, it looks good. This does kind of come into the first part of my issue with this though. The proportions are off. Now, something like this is not as bad. We'll see with some of the high grades, or really one other high grade, because it proves the point well enough. The proportions are off a lot for Gunpla. And of course, something this small, you're kind of expecting that, but it is kind of noticeable if you pay attention. Just glancing on your shelf, it's not going to be a big deal, but if you really look at it, like if you're focusing in on it now, even with the Alto, you can see, you're like, ooh, that looks a little off, right? You're not seeing things. You're absolutely right. It is really designed that way. And that's really not the only problem. I mean, don't get me wrong. This looks great, visually speaking, just the base itself. But as a stand, it lacks a couple of things. And one of them is going to be the proportion. I'd rather have had fewer buildings that were a little bigger. But the reason they probably kept this so small is the second kind of meh thing about it. The display stand stick is not tall enough. It doesn't look bad with the 30-minute mission here, but let's say we'll try something like the high-grade Exia. And you kind of see a little bit, okay, this is going to be a problem for bigger high grades. This is not going to work. Even real grades I'm a little concerned about, and I thought about trying it, but the third problem is the weight. With all of the pegs, granted they're in the center of their individual panel, but regardless which one you use, it's gonna be on the outside because there's not a connection piece in the center. So if you have a heavier kit and you try to put it at an angle, it's not gonna stay flush and it's gonna be a little wobbly. So I was actually curious, went back and did this after I actually edited everything together, and I tried with the Real Grade Mark II. And it works just fine. Weight-wise, it's not a big deal. I even kind of put it off at an angle, as you can see, and it works. So if you're wanting to throw some high grades, especially in not like drastic poses, this is still going to work fine. Just as an added little benefit, don't worry about weight all that much unless you're really putting something to one side, then be a little concerned. Now, has it fallen apart on me? Has it just melted? No. But it is something to know if you're planning to get something like this for a heavier kit. Maybe hold off. It's worth a try, and for high grades, it works fine. Sure, the sizing's off, but just glancing at it on your shelf, it's just gonna add a little interest visually to where your feet would normally be. And I mean, I like it, I really do. And for the like $6 to $10, I think it is USD, it's, I would say, well worth it. It's a cool display base. It's not gonna necessarily have like the ratcheted joints or anything, or the weird middle stand gimmick that like the Action Base 5 has, but as a nice, cheap, good looking stand, it does the job. And I'd say if you're looking for display bases without gonna break the bank, this is a must have. This is gonna add a lot of really interesting just groundswell to your display, and it's going to hold up your kits. Once again, you may have to mess with some weight distribution, different poses, but that's kind of part of the fun of having a kit on a stand, right, is messing with the pose. So I'd have to say this is a must-buy for me. If you've got this, in the comments down below, let me know what you think about it and what kits you're planning to put on it. This has been the Spicer, this has been the Gunpla Network, and as always, friends, keep on building.